Hi guys, Alex Peak Performance Reviews. Welcome to another vlog and welcome to another car review. Today I find myself in a Ferrari 488 Spider. Obviously rear wheel drive, lots of power, lots of torque, race derived suspension and other components. It is absolutely right up my street, so I cannot wait to give you this, you guys, this video today. Sorry to interrupt the video guys, but I just wanted to tell you about a new product I'm involved in, and that's Volt Financial Services. If you want your dream hot hatch, your dream hypercar, supercar, get in touch with the guys at Volt. If you think it's inaccessible to you, trust me, it's worth trying. Links in the bio, quote PPR15, and rest assured they'll look after you. But like I say, don't hold out. If you want that car, go get it. Links in the bio, check it out. So yes, let's talk driver dynamics and tech specs. So this has a longitudinal mounted engine, which is obviously in the boot, mid-engine as such, rear wheel drive platform, which we all know and love with Ferraris, and it has this absolutely glorious twin turbo V8, which is just absolutely something to savour. First and foremost, 660 bhp with 760 Nm, so newton meters of torque. It is an absolute monster of a weapon of a car. That being said, I said 660 brake horsepower. I honestly think this car has way more horsepower than that. I really do. What it has, I do not know. Probably, in my opinion, somewhere there or thereabouts of 700, 720 horsepower. Easy. This thing absolutely hauls ass. 0 to 60 dispatched in 3 seconds. Some people say 3.1 and some tech specs say 3.0. That's between the GTB and the Spider. This is a hard top convertible, which is lovely, really, really nice, and it stows away really good. And I think it can operate even up to speeds of about 30 miles an hour, but I'm not going to try that. I'll probably stop and put it down. 202 mile an hour top speed, which I'm definitely not going to test today. I will try and do you a 0 to 60 time just to see if we can back up anywhere near that. It is a kind of, actually quite a nice day. It's 18 degrees, so we should be able to get close to that. And these cars do put the power down really well. It's got some really big ass Michelin Supersport 305 section tyres, and they are, like I say, really, really grippy, and the car in general really, really does look after you. It has an automatic gearbox, 7-speed, and it is absolutely glorious. Unlike some automatic gearboxes, this is kind of F1, they call it F1 derived, and it really does kind of pre-select gears, and it is super quick. You can change different modes to whatever you want. This car doesn't have an eco mode, but it has this like little rotary cowl switch, which is called a Maranello. There's no eco mode, but there is a mode called wet. That is effectively what you could use as your eco mode. It basically dials down the suspension, the steering, the weight and throttle response, and it is actually a really, really good car. Even in sports, it still puts its power down really well. So yeah, talking about sports, we'll go on to that now. That just amps up everything just a little bit more, but keeps it really, really safe, I'd still say, and this just looks after you. And then you've also got the race mode, which is, it amps everything up a bit further and it opens up those valves, lock down that the rear bit, and let's put it down for you. Now you probably can't hear me, so I'm just going to basically, there's a little rear visor go window that you can open and close for more sound. Basically, I do have it open most of the time. Obviously, as you'd imagine, you've got this beautiful V8, which I have to report, thankfully, is not actually diluted down by the turbos too much. Obviously, this has twin turbos. It does dial down the sound a little bit. I have driven only one other Ferrari actually since I've driven this, and it was the F430, which I haven't got a review for you. It was a long time ago, and it had the screaming motors that they used to have in these Ferraris, where it was NA, no turbo, and obviously Ferrari not too long ago started really introducing a lot of turbocharged cars to the market. You'll hear a 458, the last of almost what you could argue was kind of the last of the V8 non-turbo era-ish. I know there's some other cars that they did later, but one of those last faded out naturally aspirated motors, and they did sound glorious. This does still spin up to just over or around 8,000 RPM, which is absolutely superb. And I have to say, even though it is twin turbo, it doesn't take away too much of the orchestra of that exhaust note. And I'll drop it down a few gears to... It's like a musical instrument, isn't it? And it is just so freaking fast. It is unreal. It just brings a smile to my face every time I put my foot down. Like I say, if you want to just dull, you know, down the drive and chill down the drive, you just take it down the modes. On the Maranello switch, there's also a CT off and an ESC off, so you can really kind of go step by step to having it in a really leery mode and having all kind of driver aids off, proper off on this car. And let me tell you, when you do put those off, I'm not going to do it on the drive now, this turns into an absolute wild animal. You can control it. It has such a good chassis, so you can kind of get it to step sideways and you can just control it into a beautiful kind of slide and control it to how you want, and it really does look after you. But I still would say you do it in the dry if you're going to do it, and you need to be very either accomplished or kind of know what you're doing, or be ready for the power and the feel of a car like this. But in general, it in any mode, and even with traction control modes off, it will look after you. It's incredible. It reminds me of, but very different in a certain respect, of the Porsche GT3. It has one of those chassis that does feel so race-like. It feels so dialed in that you almost have this telekinesis type feel between you and the car. The steering and the actual chassis and what's underneath you is just unreal. Whereas you'll find yourself going around a tight turn when you're really pushing on with a lot of other cars, you'll get a little bit of oversteer or understeer especially, and the kind of front will want to wash out. This, you almost feel your way, and kind of you're telling the car where it wants to go, and you can just look where you want to go, and you just do it all in one motion without having to do these horrible correction and counter steering movements, because of how good the chassis is. It's just sublime. Let's push it on. Flipping heck, it's fast. But I just never, even though it is so fast, I never feel nervous with what's underneath my butt and what's behind me. It just feels so accomplished. You can just clip and touch and hit apexes. Yes, I'm not on a circuit, but honestly, you can hit these, you know, the imaginary apexes on these roads, these country roads, and the car just will do it again and again and again with absolute aplomb. It is so good, and the chassis is so fine. It just looks after you and makes you feel like a racing driver or a hero every time you get in it. It is sublime, absolutely sublime. Yeah, so these 488s do come with factory carbon ceramic brakes, so they do squeal a little bit. Ferrari have definitely engineered a feel where you have good modulation, so you can just really control it with your toe. That being said, they are so good and so strong that they can easily put the double hazards on, which is basically hit the ABS and make the ABS hit in. It doesn't feel unnerving, but you just always see, like on a hard bit of braking, or even a mildly hard bit of braking, it putting the lights on, especially when these brakes are warm. They're absolutely amazing. You can just stomp on them again and again and again, and I can imagine how good this would be on track. And you can let the car do its everything on its own, and it does in auto an incredible job of knowing when it needs to shift down, shift up. But if you want, you can put it into full manual and obviously change with these glorious kind of carbon fibre paddles. It is just a sublime machine, guys. If you ever have the chance to get one, if you're thinking about a second-hand buy, yes, obviously you've got the next tiers and the next steps above these in the Pista. Very hard to get a hold of, probably way more so than one of these, and then the F8, and then now the 296. Just I love the way Ferrari has a step up for everything, and it just steps and ramps up. I mean, this car for me though is every bit of car that you need for a road. It's almost like how the Porsche GT4 is in that kind of segment. It's almost everything you need for a road. And I have to say, even in race mode, if you keep everything on and all the driver aids on, this is still playful, but for me, it just handles every bit of power and torque the car actually has, and it still kind of is playful, but does actually really look after you, which honestly, when you feel the power this car has, you can't comprehend how it still has decent and very good grip before it kind of does this little minute tail slide, but still looks after you. It's just unreal. Obviously, owning a Ferrari or having a Ferrari isn't without its quirks. There are a few little ones, but honestly, when you look at the interior quality, it's so high-end. Carbon fibres, high-quality levers, high-quality stitching, and in general, from what I understand from, you know, modern Ferrari owners, actually they've been they are very reliable, which I love. But it's a beautiful place to be. You feel like you're in in a car that is $250,000 or starts life at $250,000 to 300,000, and you can pick these cars up for phenomenal value. Yes, they're not going to lose much value, but again, that may be why you might want to get one. But yes, like I say, it isn't without its quirks, and I love that about Ferrari. It's just how they are. The little tunnel that basically fields this the rev counter, which is still analog, which I love. That's not the quirky bit. It kind of surrounds this little cluster of 2 digital gauges left and right, and there's some instrumentation for where like the low fuel light comes up, and also there's I think the speed limiter gauge comes up, and literally where I'm sitting, and I think wherever anyone sits, some of the little instrument LEDs that come up, you actually can barely see them. So when the fuel light comes on, yes, it has got a range on the left hand side that is telling you that on the digital gauge, but you can't kind of see the illuminated low fuel light, or you can, but very minutely. And I love that. That's just Ferrari quirks. They do have them, but in general, it's quite busy in here, but certainly very beautiful and well laid out. Lots of physical buttons, not all digital, and just very mechanical in its feel. And I love the way everything is laid out. It is very thought out. These digital kind of cancel repeaters or indicators are take some getting used to. You just obviously press left, right, whichever one you want, like click it in, and then you click in to just take it off, but very quickly you get used to it. But yeah, like I say, most things are on the steering wheel or very close to you and driver focused, and I love that. In general, it's a great place to be, and the general build and quality of this car is superb, absolutely superb. Now, I have friends that sometimes tell me that when you buy a Ferrari, you buy it for the badge. You know, it's £250,000 or whatever the price is of the exact model you're going to go for, and they kind of say, well, it's only that money because it's a Ferrari. And I have to absolutely rubbish that, and I'll tell you why. If you knew what was underneath this car, aside from, yes, a very powerful, very sophisticated motor and drivetrain, there is even more to meet the eye than even just that. There is race suspension within the confines of this chassis. The suspension in this car probably costs 20, 30, 40,000 pounds. It's incredible. The dry sump lubrication, which is basically a race lubrication system that allows this car to corner at super high Gs and then have no issues with oil starvation. I drove this car a lot, and I actually said something to the owner and commented on something that he couldn't believe I commented on. We were driving a number of cars, and we were driving them so fast, and it was a much more hot day than today. It was high 20s, and we were driving super fast constantly, and I was looking at the oil and water temperature and pressures, and I don't know what the hell a Ferrari have done to this car, but considering that engine is in the back and you have to get cooling to that area there, and you are in a car with this kind of power, and we were like non-stop. The oil temperatures and the water temperatures are some of the lowest, but in a good range, to anything I've ever seen in a car that I've pushed at that level. It just didn't seem to elevate. And it makes me kind of come back to how I say these kind of cars that you buy, they are like race cars for the road. There's no two ways about it. They have race performance parts on it out of the factory that have been developed for years and years and years by people who know how to go racing. And that's what you buy when you buy something like this. And I have to say, I am absolutely taken by this car. It is sublime beyond all comprehension. It is one of the best cars I've ever been in, and it has got to be one of the best cars ever made. And with that, I think to myself, how good must the Pista be, and how good must the F8 be, and how ridiculously good must the 296 be. I've heard that car is out of this world. But that being said, if you want a 488, honestly, I don't think it can get much better than this on the road, I have to say. Whoa! Jeez! Flipping heck! Wow! What a car! You can just feel like the differentials and lots of amazing electrics doing some incredibly awesome like things to keep you on the road and to keep you on the straight and narrow, because you can feel the diff kind of working hard and the traction just working hard to just keep you from, like, you know, going sideways. This car is 660 horsepower, but for me there's no way it's 660 horsepower. This is a 700 horsepower plus car. It is ridiculously fast, and this car is doing everything to keep you in check and still propelling you forward and making you go so fast. It is just mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. There's no other way or thing to say about it. It's just simply perfection. Perfection is probably the best way to explain it. What a car, what a machine, and what a chassis. Love it. And obviously, do you know what, because of how refined and amazing this car is, yes, you could daily something like this. It's not going to be practical. There's a tiny frunk in the front, and there's, you know, nothing effectively in the rear. So, you know what, you know, you're not going to be able to take much around with you. Obviously, just a small overnight bag, maybe a small set of golf clubs. You can't do too much in the way of like going long distance in a car like this. I mean, you can, but it'll be a bit of hard work. But that's not what you buy a car like this for. Although it actually will return 25 miles per gallon, and actually when I have driven this gently in wet mode, it does seem to be able to get 25, 26, even 27 miles per gallon. But because you just tend to not do that, you don't really tend to get that kind of miles per gallon. You are more nearer in the single figures to kind of low teens. Jeez, flipping heck, man. The chassis and what it does, like I say, with this power, I don't know how it gets that grip on the ground, but you can feel it just start to scramble. But the computers are just clamping the spinning wheels just a little bit, and then it just propels you. And this car is crazy quick, like as in McLaren 720 fast, and then some. I think low down to mid-range, the 488 feels like a quicker car. Maybe just up top, I'd say the 720 just starts to pull. At least that's what I would say it feels like to me. But definitely on driving this a lot, and even driving the McLaren 720S, this just feels like a bit more of a special car. There's just something a bit more about it. I love the McLaren. I think it's a phenomenally amazing all-round car, and it does similar things in the way it looks after you. But there's just something there's something about the Ferrari that just makes it feel a little bit more special. All right, yep, let's do some 0 to 60 pulls and let's see if we can get anywhere near the 3.1 or 3. I think 3 to 3.1 factory times. I think it's going to be quite hard because it's 18 degrees and it had been very damp the prior day, so it is still marginally damp on the road. So let's just have a little look and see what we can do. Jesus! Whoa! That was 0 to 60 and 3.0, guys, and there was spin. This is going to go quicker. Let's give it another go, guys. Let's give it another go. This car's quick. Shit, you know. Woo. Jeez, it's quick, but I don't think that was better. Oh, it was! Yes! 2.96, come on! Get in! Woo! Jeez, this car's quick, I'm telling ya. Woo-hoo! Holy man, I honestly think this car will go quicker than that. I'm going to try again one or two more times. No launch mode. It seems to launch better, I think, in the softer suspension. If you've got one of these, guys, and you're watching, hit us up in the comment section. Best way to launch it. I'm sure it will be with launch mode. For some reason, I must be not pressing the right combination of things to build boost and do the launch mode. So considering that is not in launch mode, Jesus, it's unreal. I bet like this is such a quick car, so accomplished. Hey, mate. Woo! Wow, this car, I'm telling you, this is the best car I've ever driven in my life, 100%. Yeah, wow, what a car. Right, anyway, let's do another 0 to 60. Woo! Shit in it. Oh, it's 3 dead again, come on. I mean, it is consistent. I managed to get the launch mode working there, build boost, but I think it's just not warm enough. If honestly, if this had got traction, pure traction, I reckon, and the road's warm, like if it was 25, 26, 27 degrees maybe. It's greasy today, it is really greasy. I reckon you could easy get in the 2.7s, 2.8s, 2.7s without a shadow of a doubt. Woo! 295, 1,000th of a second quicker. Well, it's a PB. It's a PB all the same. I'm gonna have one more go. Let's enjoy the sounds of the Ferrari 488. Let's have some Ferrari 488 AMSR. It's just absolutely glorious. Yes, they were amazing with an NA motor, guys, but let me tell you now, it's still amazing and it still sounds fantastic. It is just amazing. As turbocharged cars go, I think this has got to be the best in terms of modern turbocharged cars. I have run out of superlatives of this car. This car is just sublime. I think I'm going to end it there, guys. So that is the end of our drive in the Ferrari 488 Spider, and I can't begin to kind of put into words of how good this car is. Quite simply, it is the best car I have ever driven. I've driven Lamborghinis, I've driven the special R8s, 720S, Porsche GT3. There's something that Ferrari does to the essence of the car that makes the driver feel at one, and it just feels a really special thing to drive a car like this. I can only imagine what the Pista and the F8 and the 296 is going to feel like when I do eventually drive it. There's lots coming with me, and definitely some Ferraris, and that's all I'll say on that. Yeah, quite simply put, it is the best car I have ever driven in my life. And it was just a pleasure, and it's such a shame that that is the end of my drive. Guys, as always, if you've got any comments, hit us up in the comment section. And as always, like, share, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you again on the next one. Bye for now.